Winterland, tell me all your secrets. Fill me in on your wildest moments. Colored trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing roofs, your painted red shakes the room. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer. Winterland, you're my sailing ship. Guide me.
Hey everybody, happy Monday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric. I make apps. Now this is the weekly live stream where we just hang out. We just talk about whatever we want to talk about. We talk about, technology. We talk about what I think about Flutter. That question always comes up at least once. Looking for clients, working in the app business, all that kind of stuff. We just hang out. Usually when the live stream starts, I've been doing it for since I've been doing it for about 4 years now, and it's never planned. So it's always just start up what are we going to talk about this week? And I never know when we start. But we just hang out and talk. Sometimes it could be a half an hour, sometimes it could be 2 hours long, but we're trying to keep it to around the 1 hour part. So it's been a busy week for me. It's been busy-ish. There's been a lot of stuff going on. One of the projects I've been working on is something I'm doing on the kind of on the off hours. It's a Flutter project, which everything was looking good. And I don't know if you guys have ever experienced. For those guys who do Flutter work, you probably know this completely. But a lot of times you get those errors in the console, as you're running a Flutter application, and you might get a few widget build errors, but everything kind of renders okay in the simulator. So you're everything's fine, right? And then when you actually go to a physical device, not even a physical device in debug mode, but you go to a physical device sometimes you have to compile something and release it, and then you find out you got this gray screen. This just gray screen because it's either a data type mismatch or something like that. That's what I've been doing today. Today I was nearly about to release an application on Flutter, and it was just everything was ready to go. I worked on it, Saturday, and the client was happy with it, and then I was just testing out this morning right before releasing it, and luckily I found these things. But I just found a few of those little gray screens from the test flight build as opposed to from the actual debug build. This is one of the reasons why we talk about a lot, you have to run things on a physical device, where if you guys see, I've got all these devices here in front of me. I've got 6 phones in front of me, and I've also got my day-to-day phone. But even then, sometimes with tools like Flutter, it's too forgiving in the development environment on the debug build, which is good because it's nothing worse than having something just crash and it doesn't give you any feedback. But you also have to know that when you go live, that's not really the experience that users have. So anyway, that's been on the forefront of my mind just this afternoon. This morning, everything was fine, but whatever. So anyway, I hope you're all having a great week. Let's see who's here. Let's see. We've got Rohit here. Hey, Eric, happy Monday. Happy Monday. Patrick's here again. Hey, Patrick, how's it going? Man, hang on. Why is this so small? I can't see. Let's see. Sorry, we got to do this whole thing with the. I think I did an upgrade to the. Here we go. Nope. There we go. We did an upgrade to the Ecamm Live, which is the software I use, and I think a lot of people live stream with something called StreamYard or something, which I might need to look into. But so hey, how's it going, Patrick? That was a boring aside. And with Kevin Hawthorne. Hey, Kevin, how's it going? And Divine Moretti says, hey, Divine, how's it going? Eric, I've been hearing a lot about AdMob demonetization. I want to ask exactly is it possible to recover if it happens to my app? Thanks. It probably should be. I mean, if you think you've been demonetized or your AdMob's been suspended, and your app is still live, then you should be able to get it back. But this is one of the big reasons why you should have, because the thing, when we talk about having AdMob mediation, where you have those 3 or 4 different networks on the same application, I've never had a huge amount of profits from that, except when AdMob suspends it. right? Like every developer out there who's done AdMob stuff, like, because I know I've been to like AdMob conferences, and you're talking to people, they're like, they get that email, they're like, oh, and usually it's a placement or whatever. For some reason they don't like the way that it's displayed or something, so you get that thing. It's been, your ads have been suspended, or it's been temporarily moved. You just got to go through and redo it and then resubmit it. Now, if they've shut down your whole AdMob account, like I've never had that happen, but you should be able to appeal it, especially if it's unjust, right? You got to understand, Divine, that it is probably, well, it's almost certainly not a human being that's going in there and shutting down your account. It's like, it's not somebody who's looking at it and evaluating and going, this guy's breaking the rules. There's something, the algorithm says this looks fishy, and then rather than, task somebody with going to look and investigate it, like whatever, 3-4 days later, and losing a whole bunch of money for the advertisers, they'll just rather just shut it down. And then it's on you as a publisher to go through and justify, hey, actually, I'm not doing anything wrong here. I think you made a mistake. Or, if it's a placement issue or something like that, just move it someplace else, right? And look at the guidelines too, because I've done this before where sometimes you just have a ad that's loading slow. Like I've had this a lot where I've had an interstitial ad, which is like, I used to do a thing where I would load the ad. It was an asynchronous call, and as soon as it's available, then I display it, right? Which could be like, it's not at the opportune time. So like I would get these false clicks because I'd have like, just, they're about to click on a button or a pop-up or something like that, and as they're about to, then that slow loading ad just loads up. So this is what you want to do when you load up your application is, do that asynchronous call first, and then you have everything loaded, and then it's just a display when it's ready. Because you have to, when you look at the terms and conditions or the guidelines, it's like it has to be in a transition. It has to be going from one place to another. You can't just pop it up like randomly, stuff like that. It could be something like that. So, but just make the change, and it all depends on the wording of the email that they got you. So Bart Racco's here. Hey Bart, how's it going? Let's see. Theo Taylor on a call but in the house. All right, I think we should wait for Theo to come back. Theo, when you're done with the call, just let us know. We'll continue. All right. Well, you carry on with the call. All right. That's all right. Let's see. Brohit says, do you have any experience with Iron Source mediation platform? No. I've been having some troubles with rewarded ads loading slowly or sometimes not at all. Not loading at all. Dude, I had loads of trouble with rewarded ads not loading. It's like you have to, like, again, this is, I've talked about this before. There was this guy, I don't know if I should say his name, but like back in the, I guess 2013, 2014, he kind of positioned himself as like an app guru. And, he was kind of like in the community, and I don't know what he's doing. I think he moved on to ebook publishing and whatever, like, just kind of, one of those guys. And he, but like he had this call with me, and he was kind of like positioned himself as an expert. And he was telling me like, how successful his apps were. And he's got this team overseas that they're just cranking them out, and they're just reskinning code and everything like that. And he told me like, you need to have like, use like Vungle, like rewarded ads from Vungle, because they were video ads at the time. And you say, if you watch 5 videos or whatever, then you unlock something, or if you watch 10 videos, whatever. So that's what I did. I put that in there, and that was like, if you watch 5 consecutive videos, then you'll get an in-app purchase. Because then at least people who couldn't afford to watch it, they would have this rewarded ad experience. And I had the same thing where there just wasn't enough inventory, right? It was like, and then I started thinking, oh, how did this guy, like, it was like one of these things, is this guy just, was he lying or whatever? Or then I started trying to do stuff that was sneaky, like switching the placement IDs and everything like that. And it was like, actually, that was just like, it just didn't work out for me, because the rewarded ad, and also with rewarded ads, what I was finding was that even though I was showing rewarded ads, my eCPM was like not that much higher unless they clicked on something. So, but how many of you guys out there have done rewarded ads, and how have you found it? Like, let us know now, right? I want some concrete. I want numbers. Because that was my problem at the time, was, because I was kind of new to apps, and apparently I think he was too, but he was kind of like, he was positioning himself as like he's the expert. And I just, like, I did a video early on which was like talking about this kind of people who position themselves as an expert, but they won't show you actual numbers, which is kind of one of the reasons why you know, if you guys want to see my daily revenue, I'll show you my daily revenue. If you want to see my, you know, like the only thing I wasn't allowed to show, which I did a video once where I was showing my AdMobs, and this is how, you know, this is how much, you know, these are what my ECPM, my RPMs and everything are like. And I was just, and then that was against the rules. And somebody told me that, and I immediately just removed that video. But let's see. And no, Joe, it wasn't Chad Moretta. No, it was this guy Chris. Yeah, no, but not Chad Moretta. Chad Moretta was like, he wrote the book App Empire, and I read that book, and I was thinking about, I wanted to get into apps to begin with, and I read App Empire, and it was all like, his whole thing was fake fingerprint scanner, fool your friends. He had an app like that, and he talked about he was making loads of money, and then he started his seminars about App Empire and his courses and everything like that, and it was like, you know, and he would have seminars at like hotels and stuff like that, and it almost like switched overnight where I was like, oh, I enjoyed, I think this book. I looked at his website. It was like a normal website, and then I looked at it literally like a week later after his book took off. Then it was like a, you know, there was the newsletter and the, you know, and the conference dates and everything like that. And it's like this big thing. And, you know, and that's when like a lot of people I was working with started, like, I can remember sitting there and my apps were starting to make about they were starting to make about 30 pounds a day. I think it was like, that was it. And that was like, people were saying, that's when people started to notice, like I was working with, they're like, hey, that's not bad. That's, you know, it's like, you know, and then they were like, you know, how could I do something like that? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like a, you know, and then they were like, and then they were saying, what you should do is write a book, like, you know, how to get rich with apps. And this was like, everyone I was working with was saying that you should write a book on how to get rich with apps. And my thing was like, but I'm not rich with apps, right? And then they were saying, yeah, no, but you have to sell the dream, right? And this was like, just like normal, like this was like normal people, like friends of mine who were trying to tell me like, you just got to sell the dream. Like we all know what the tricks are. And it's like, you know, and then when you see somebody who goes down that rabbit hole, it's like, you know, which is one of the reasons why with a live stream is like, you know, if you want to purchase my time, you can purchase my time, but I don't have any courses. I don't have anything like that because of Chad Moretta, because a lot of those other guys, like, you know, that kind of, that mentality, which is something that is very, the internet is rife with it. Sorry, Rachel, I missed your thing here. Rachel said, hey, Rachel, how's it going? Do you submit your apps yourself to the app stores or do you use a third-party software? And if so, which do you recommend? I submit them myself. Like, I didn't even know there was a third-party software to do it, except maybe for Fastlane. So I use Fastlane to, I don't use it, I'll use Fastlane for creating the app store, you know, just because it's easy just to go Fastlane produce, and you can like produce like, so especially on the iOS side. On the iOS side, you have to go through and you have to create your certificate, your developer certificate, but you only have to do that once, unless you get a new machine or a new developer. And then that way, in that case, you would just export that certificate. You have to do the app ID, the provisioning profile for the ad hoc and the dev. You have to do the provisioning profile. Then you have to go through and set up the App Store Connect page, and then you have to do, you know, and then you have to go through and upload the app. So Fastlane made all of that really simple. Just go Fastlane produce, it will do all that for you, and that was really, really cool. Just because, especially I got to the point where I had so many applications that I'd update them all at one time. So I wrote a script that would just that would go through each and every single one of them and just upload them, just like to do the updates. For the APK side, I used the Fastlane. I think it's Fastlane Supply on the Google Play side, but like that worked really well too. So like, but sometimes lately, sometimes I'll just go through and do the manual steps where I'm going through and like, I don't know, you know, like, oh, I've got like an Evernote file where I have those commands. I can't quite, you know, like I used to use them all the time, and I'm like, let's see, I'll just go through and do the, you know, double click through. But in terms of any other software, I've never used anything. So yeah, because I didn't know there was anything like that. I know that if I'm uploading it from Xcode, that's one thing, or the application loader, that's another, or even from Visual Studio, if it's a Xamarin application, they all kind of have their own little stuff. So let's see. Julio says, "Hey Eric, what's good? What's good? What is good? Oh, donuts. Donuts are good. Donuts are really good. But now everything's going pretty good. Thanks, Julio. Leonardo Leo says, what do you think about Linux for developing? Have you ever used it? No, I never have. I've tried. Okay, I talked with Rodrigo Grassa, he's been on the live stream a few times. I think that people who use Linux are like badasses. Like they're kind of that you know, they're the guys at the gyms who only use free weights and would never use machines. You know, they're the guys who are like, you know, they're pure. Like they're like, you know, they don't use Windows and they don't use that. They want to touch a Mac, right? And then, so they're like, you know, but every time I've used Linux, and I at least once every 2 years, I'll think, okay, I'm going to build a Linux machine, and I'll go and I'll do Ubuntu because, you know, and that's when everyone starts saying you should use SUSE or whatever. Like you should use this one, you should use that one, you should use that one. Already it's too complicated, and then pretty soon you kind of get something working, and then 2 weeks later you're like, dude, I'm so sick of going into the command line, the terminal, and typing stuff, or like it just seems like it's too, like sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what, oh, all right, maybe I'm not, you know, like maybe I'm not cut out for this. So like there's certain things which I will only use the terminal for or the command line. Like a lot of people I know will use for Git or GitHub. They'll use something like is it Source Tree? They'll use like certain command line stuff. And even when I use SVN, I started off using Tortoise SVN back in the day, right? But when I started using command line, I like it much better. I like using command line because it's just I don't know. I just kind of feel like a badass. It just makes me feel like a developer, right? Like on TV, like, you know, they're not going in there going, "I'll just drag this over here." No, they're going like, clack, 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 and that just makes me feel really cool. However, when I got to doing Linux and stuff like that, I mean, I've got Apache servers that Apache and Nginx servers that you're going through and using non-GUI tools, but it's whenever I use like a Linux desktop, it's just been like, oh, after a while, I kind of like, you know, I last maybe a few weeks and then I go back. And I think since I've been on the Mac, I've kind of stuck with the Mac. Not because the Mac is awesome, just because it's, because making the transition, going from using the command key to the control key to the command key for copy and paste, like using my little finger and my thumb, was such a transition that took so long for me to get through my head after years of being a Windows developer or being a C# developer on Windows, that by the time I made that transition, I was like, I wasn't going to go back the other way, like just because it's a bit like, you guys know what this is like if you go from the US to the UK and you're like, okay, I'm driving on the left now, which is like, okay, and you got that time where you're just like, okay, this just feels awkward, and I just got to make sure I don't turn down the wrong road and everything like that. Every so often, you do. So even 20 years later, but no, I don't know. What do you guys think? I've always wanted to be a Linux developer, but I also need to do I need to do iOS apps, and that's and the whole Hackintosh thing or Mac and cloud stuff. It's in theory, it sounds like it would be doable, but I think, and for a while I was thinking, what I really want is I want to get like a giant, like a massive, just tower with like 128 gigs of RAM and like a Hackintosh VM and a Windows VM, and just have like that massive machine that could just and I could do video editing, I could do everything on it because I just have way too much memory and way too much processing power in it. And but this so this iMac I have now, it's got 72 gigabytes of RAM on it, just because when I'm editing videos and stuff like that, it's like it just slows everything down. But what do you guys think? Bart Rocket says, rewarded ads have not lived up to the hype. God, I'm glad it's not just me. Led to a poor user experience and they didn't load. Subscriptions are much better to focus on as long as your app gives out the value. Yeah, we always go back to that subscription stuff. Are you guys finding it? So my whole thing with the not just with subscriptions, but just Google in general is like, I keep getting back to the submit your tax information. Oh, your tax information is oh, you need to upload this tax. I'm having this thing with Google now ever since the YouTube and the AdMob and everything, right? And I've got this thing because I'm an American citizen but I have a UK company, so I'm uploading UK company stuff, and it's like it gets all muddled, and then it's like, nope, that's the wrong thing. No, that's the wrong thing. No, that's the wrong thing. And it's like, dude, I wish they'd be a bit more clear about it. I had the same thing with Amazon, but I don't know. It's just like it's really bugging me. Prithvi says, rewarded ads were trash from my app. I removed them, and my IAPs went up. That's awesome. So Rohit says, I'm thinking of changing to AdMob mediation. Wanted to know if suppose I get ads limit, which everyone is getting nowadays, will that also affect the impressions for the other mediated down networks? No, they shouldn't. Like that's the thing. I had mediated ads. I had AdMob mediation, and I had AppLovin and Facebook. And it was AppLovin that took the brunt of it. Like as soon as I can remember at the time, like I remember I went to the movies with my kids. I think we went to go see Spectre or something. I think it was a while ago. I took my kids in the afternoon, like to go see a movie, and it was kind of cool because, just like on a weekday to go out to the movies and everything. And we stopped on the way home to get something to eat. I'm like, we're just like standing there in the restaurant in the line, just waiting to be seated. It was like, and I see this on my phone. It's like, we have to go home right now. I'm not making any money. So my earspy revenue was just like gone. But then AppLovin just went, up. So, I mean, it's really just a way of serving those ads. So if you got nothing coming from AdMob, it doesn't mean they're going to stop things coming in from everywhere. So that alone might make it worth it. Let's see. Patrick says, I wonder if Chad Moretta exaggerates some of his successes. He seemed to be kind of that way, because it started like, I don't know. I kind of thought so, because it seemed like it went from a guy with an app and everything to this whole backstory, and then he was like hanging around with Tony Robbins and doing that whole circuit stuff, and it kind of like, and when he talked about the app, it was like fake fingerprint scanner, fool your friends, for iPhone only, like right when the App Store opened up. And it was like, and you see all these prank stuff now, like it's like, oh, it's a fake whatever application, fool your friends, and that's, those don't ever work. Nobody's walking around going, gotcha, like, shut up, nerd. That's never gonna work. I would never go up to somebody and go, hey, look, hey, it does just scan your fingerprint, which iPhones do now anyway. But even like back then, going, gotcha, and they'd be like, shut up, nerd. But I don't know. I don't know. I had a spy application where you hear through walls. Warya, whoop. Yeah, Cord Funk, whoop, Cord Funk. Whoop, whoop. Doing good, thanks. Mr. Noob. Mr. Noob is here. Hey, Eric, glad to catch you live. Hey, I'm glad you're here, Mr. Noob. Mr. Noob. Matthew, hey, how's it going? Cool. Mr. Noob says, hello, everyone. Everyone say hello to Mr. Noob, because he's obviously noob and he's new here. It's good to have you. I'm going to start sweating because actually the temperature, it got really nice here today. We had a few days of rain, and I closed all the windows, and I'm wearing the shirt where I get the moob sweat. So that moob sweat's going to grow. But right now it looks like, I've got eyes on my chest. And I should not have pointed it out. Okay. Let's see. Cord Funk says, I think people who use Linux secretly hates themselves. Always a bad joke. I don't mean if anyone Linux users are badasses. I know. I think, okay. So like I worked at this project in an investment bank, like back in the, it was like the mid-noughties, and I was brought in to work on this project. I was a VB developer, so I was working with a Murex developer, and he was like he was a consultant. He was paid loads of money, but he would like this old financial system. I still because I put it on my CV that I did a project where I worked with a Murex developer. I get pinged a lot for people looking for Murex developers. And I'd never heard of it before, but apparently it's this really cool thing. I was telling the guy, why didn't you learn web? You could do lots of stuff with web. And he's like, do you know how much money I get paid each day? And because he had a very rare skill. But when I would watch him on the terminal, just connect to the remote, the remote machine. He would connect to the server, and everything was command line, and he was just constantly grepping stuff. And he kept saying stuff like, I gotta dump the core. He was saying stuff that didn't, he was saying stuff sounded like from Star Trek, and it sounded really cool, I think the core's become corrupted. I need to like, he may not have said jettisoned it, but he said like, I gotta clear the core. And I was like thinking, oh, that sounds so cool. Like, I had no idea what he was doing. I'm just watching him go, grep, or whatever, which is like, I know a lot of you guys know what grep is, but it looked cool. It took me at the time, it was cool. Back at the time, I would like go on support calls to people's desks because like we like whatever we did, web apps, but like it's an Internet Explorer, and like somebody on the third floor can't use it. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go see what they're doing because this ticket's been there for like weeks. And I go down there, and then like you're sitting at someone's desk and you do something like you open up a command line and just type dir, like, and they're just like, ooh, he's so cool. And that's what I think about when I think about those guys. Thanks for the thumbs up for all those guys who've done it. And for everybody who thumbs up, I will grow more moob sweat as we go. Tevesh is going, hi, can we buy app code from Code Canyon and re-upload it on Play Store and generate some revenue? Yeah, you probably could. I mean, that's kind of why it's there, but I think you need to change it in some way. Like what I think of Code Canyon code is like that starting point. Like it could give you like a head start on something, but like if you're gonna upload it to the Play Store and not make any changes to it, then there's gonna be loads of people who do the exact same thing, and that's like this can be the same name, the same well, you'd have to change the package name anyway. All right, but and I think it needs to be significantly more different than other things. I talk about going on Chupa Mobile, like years ago, going on Chupa Mobile and buying some code for like a swing copter game, and we did reskin it. Like it looked completely different, and it was suspended like the next day. It was just like, and I don't know if it was the owner of the original application that it was cloned off of, and so you could give it a try, but if it was that easy, then everybody'd be doing it. I think Code Canyon, like if you go on to Code Canyon, I do this a lot for like if a client calls up and they said, I've got whatever, a pizza restaurant or something like that, then it's like thinking, well, there's like loads of templates on Code Canyon for restaurants. Like that would be a good place to start, right? But then it's like, and it's usually like a lot of times it's like a front-end application in either React Native or Flutter or sometimes native, but then the back end's in Laravel, and but there's loads of stuff out there, and you have to ask yourself, like, if those people were able to make money from those projects, why aren't they doing that, and why are they just selling it on Code Canyon and basically creating competition for themselves? But I think like if it's something where you're providing a service for somebody, then yeah, that would be a good starting point. TLE's Clemson says, do you think Solar 2D is going to survive? Okay, honestly, like 3 hours ago, well, maybe it was like 10 o'clock this morning, I was looking at the Solar 2D website because, I keep looking, because I was looking at my AdMob revenue this morning, and a lot of my apps are in Corona SDK, and it was like, and I keep doing this thing where I go, I'm going to rewrite these in Flutter Flame, and then the time just gets away from me. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, and then I go, let's go see how healthy Solar 2D is. And so let's have a look, so what I was doing this morning was I was looking at the GitHub repository, and like the last check-in like of the open source code was like 8 days ago. So it is being maintained in some ways, and there's still that marketplace out there, but the community seems to be getting smaller and smaller. And I'm starting to wonder whether or not it's more of a marketing thing now. Like if we all went and became Solar 2D developers, I think they'd be fine. But it feels like it's kind of dying this little death. I mean, let's have a look here, because I'll show you guys. I mean, because it's just strange to say it, because I was looking at it this morning. Let's see, Solar 2D. I'm just gonna share my screen here. Sorry, side profile suck in. I gotta remember that, side profile suck in. Let's see. So we'll look at Solar 2D. So I mean, there's not too much on the website here. Hello. All right. So but like if you look at the GitHub repository, it is still being maintained 8 days ago, 7 days ago, and they're still having the regular builds. But I think it's like that's the continuous integration kind of stuff. But I don't know. I see. When I think of Corona SDK and Solar 2D, I think it was really cool, right? But my whole um, the thing that scared me about it was the fact that it was closed source, and now that they've kind of opened it up, and you've got Vlad's uh, yeah, Vlad's Foga, but like there used to be this uh, like a weekly hangout, Google Hangout of Corona Geek, and it was like this a huge community, and there's probably still community out there, but I don't know how big it is anymore. Who knows with YouTube algorithms? Maybe there's like this huge community out there, and they just don't ever tell me about anything. But if I go onto YouTube and type Corona SDK, my videos come up like up in the top. So there's not a whole lot there that's being updated lately. But I hope it does. I hope it really does, stick around. Um, my fear is like the one because part of me thinks, well, there's other languages out there that you could use that don't get updated regularly. But like, let's say there's a new iOS feature or a new iOS requirement or Android requirement that comes out, and they stop supporting it, then what do you do? Or they're also like, they're now that they're not being paid for it, maybe they're not able to get to it right away. So, but I hope they do. I hope it's just, I hope they do, because that was something I really enjoyed using. I mean, I hate using Lua. Lua is like not my favorite language, but once you start getting into it, the fast reload and everything was really cool. So, but yeah, I, I do. When you say is it going to survive, I think it probably will over the next year at least, right? I mean, it might be. I hope it really takes off, because it's it's got a lot in there. But okay, so here's some of the things that I didn't like about using. Now, like, say all these positive things, I'm like going to turn around. Like, I think one of the things, like, I would like to see more like asynchronous calls and stuff, like some things that are just they're growing so fast in like I did one which I tried to create an application which used Dropbox as a back end, and we decided to do it in Corona SDK because I had a developer. That's all I knew. I was kind of they talked about how you could use Corona to make a business app, so that's what we did. We had Dropbox at the back end. We used the Dropbox API, and we're connecting to that, and we could not make asynchronous calls work. And as soon as we moved it over to Ionic, everything went faster because we have these multiple simultaneous asynchronous calls, which we're really having trouble doing within Corona SDK. Now, that could have been my skill level, but it was, there's little things like that. But having like just a game loop and everything like that really worked well for me. Have I been talking about that one too long? Let's see. Osama. Hey, Osama, how's it going? It says, hi, Eric. I'm a fan since 2018. Woohoo, thanks. And this is my first time asking a question. All right, okay. How can you advise us, a US, actually most of us developers, how can you advise us developers struggling with importer syndrome? I've never heard of importer syndrome. Do you think that like a shipment's coming in? No, I'm just kidding. So imposter syndrome, obviously mean imposter syndrome. Dude, we all have imposter syndrome. Look, I think, first of all, it's one of those weird things where you start to think like that you're not good enough. Like, if you, Osama, if you're looking at me and you think Eric knows everything and Eric has everything figured out, dude, you are so wrong, right? We all have that thing when you go into a new job or you have something that's taken off and you think at some point everyone's going to figure things. They're going to figure out that whatever, I don't know this as well as you might think, or I might not, or whatever. And even me just saying that, like doing a YouTube channel, especially in the beginning, like all of my videos were not like what I think. They were like, some people might say this. I was like just covering my ass the whole time. And then it was like, actually, it is my opinion. I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. Like, if I have like, hey, this stuff has worked for me this way, and all this kind of stuff. And then eventually you just start to, who you are and who you aren't based on that. But but you need to have that little bit. You need to have that. Like, if you don't feel like you're a fraud some of the time, then you're not growing fast enough. Like right now, I think I'm not growing because I don't really have that feeling a lot lately. But like I did, like when I went with my first client, I think let's talk about some of the major milestones of imposter syndrome that I felt like just doing what I do. The first time I went to go meet with a client, right? Like I've had like, okay, my first computer job, I think I told you guys, I was like, I was working in a factory, and then I got this job in an investment bank, and like I didn't know, like I had no programming experience, but they were kind of like, okay with it, they're trying to get me to do little odd jobs and stuff like that. Then I felt like I didn't belong there. I'm putting on a suit every day, which I got from a charity shop, from a thrift store that cost me 10 pounds. I'm wearing my army shoes. I'm getting on a train every day, going into an office at these big, like I'm working with people who make £1 million bonuses each year. And I'm like, just barely scraping by, and you're going into that building like, dude, they can all see how way out of my depth I am. But then you have to have that. You're reaching that rung on the ladder, and you're pulling yourself up, and you're that bit. We're thinking, I don't think I can make it. Oh, I made it. Next one, I don't think I can make it. But let's see. Meeting with my first client, my first client, trying to be like, oh yeah, no, I know it's doing the royal we, like, oh yeah, we could help you with this. We could help you like with that. We could do this. And it was like, and they're just, and there's part of me thinking, oh God, they're gonna see I'm sweating. They're gonna see that I'm, they're gonna see like all that. But then there's also the, what you have to keep telling yourself is, if you are willing to do everything that it takes to get it done, then you're not an imposter. Like I used to have this thing where I'd go meet with companies when I started getting like more and more client work in for Overpass, where I was going in to meet with companies thinking, they're going to know that I'm not a businessman. They're going to know like I'm just a developer. They're going to know that like they're going to be able to see that I'm just a software developer. I'm not this big, business guy. And then it starts to occur to you that what they're looking for is a software developer, right? They're not looking for the guy who's all, charming and charismatic. They're looking for the guy who could deliver what they're supposed to deliver. And if you can deliver what you're supposed to deliver, or you'll do whatever you have to do to deliver what you to deliver, then there's no imposter about it. Like you're just thinking that you don't have the confidence that everybody else does, but that comes with time. It's like, those software, like when you, by the way, if you never worked with a software developer who's better than you, then you have to work with people who are like way better than you, because then you're like, you get that like kind of like, oh God, like they're gonna figure out that I don't, and that's when you hit the books. Then you start like, okay, I gotta get better at this. I gotta get my code can't be sloppy anymore. I gotta like make sure I comment this stuff out really well. I gotta make sure this, like, because they're gonna see it. They're gonna see it and they're gonna know. Like, so that's, it's always like, when you work with people who are better than you, then you start to feel a little bit inferior. You start to feel a bit more like an imposter, but that's how you grow. So what do the rest of you guys think about that? Because I know we talk about imposter syndrome a lot here, and it's just one of those things we all feel, especially as human beings. Like my dad once said, we all have that fear that if other people could see what I'm really thinking right now, they would be so disappointed in me. And, once you start to realize that everybody feels that way, even like in high school, where like, for me, I was a nerdy, like I was the kid who didn't have any friends, and I was like changing schools every year, and the shy one who never talked to anybody. And you look around and everybody else seems so confident, like they're just in their element, mainly because they didn't just change schools a year before, but they're in their element and they all know what they're doing. But then you find out as you get older that no, they're the same. They kind of, everyone's like has that fear that if everyone finds out what I really like inside, then but if you have like a full 100 control over everything, then you're not pushing yourself enough. And that's just, give me a thumbs up if you agree with that. Give me a thumbs down if you disagree with that, by the way. Let's see. Matthew says, off-topic question. Dude, let's do off-topic questions today. What is our topic? What is your opinion of the U.S. government admitting flying saucers are real? I know, isn't that weird? And it's like not the top of the news. Like it's like, that's kind of weird. I kind of look at it a little bit. It's like, okay, yeah, there's something out there, and everyone's like, really, there's something out there, and they're like, is it aliens? And we're like, well, we don't really know. And then we just kind of, oh, hey, there's the Olympics, right? So yeah, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if they could figure that stuff out, but It's Mr. David. Mr. David, hey, how's it going? Hi, Eric. Nice to start your live stream again. Glad you're here. Did you have time to check out the app sheet like you said last time? If so, what are your thoughts on using it for intern office? Damn, I haven't. But I mean, when we did look at it last, we did look at it last week. Do you know what the distribute, like, can you create an app with it and distribute it like as your own, like use again as a backend, or is it something that they have to use their thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I can remember, like, I worked for a SharePoint consultancy for a while. Not SharePoint. I have worked for a SharePoint consultancy, but I've worked for a Salesforce consultancy. And they were like kind of giddy with how cool Salesforce was. And they were like going to have this service built on top of Salesforce. But Salesforce itself was an expensive tool. So it was like all of a sudden they had all this, like they could only have really high-end clients because they had to be able to afford not only like Salesforce, but then also the custom code that was built on top of it. So, you know, it is possible to release something that's built on another framework, but it just might not be through the app stores. And that was one of the things I thought last week, but I haven't looked at it. Hello, Mr. Noob. Hey, Letting's here. Hey, how's it going? Called Rentathon. Oh yeah, we looked at Rentathon. Should we have a look at that? You did that. The other mess. You put that on the Discord server today, didn't you? Let's see. Rentathon put this on the. It wasn't Rentathon. It was Neurorhythmic, right? Let me open the Discord. So yeah, you put this on the Discord service earlier, which is a website. Like you said, you used like a tool to do it. Rentathon. What tool did you use? Just so we could share that here. Where's my? Let me know your thoughts on my website. Yeah, we'll have a look at here, and let's just get some of these other ones in the middle here. Kartik, hey Kartik, how's it going? Okay, I like your avatar. I recently started watching Rick and Morty. So like I'm just, you know, sometimes I just didn't feel nerd enough, so I thought I'd get into that. But no, it's like I'm really enjoying it. Have you worked with Flutter apps? If yes, what state management do you use for? Yes, I'm using it on a few things. I just use a provider pattern. So just using provider with Firebase. So it seems to work pretty well. I think one of the I had an issue last week where I was like, I had something in my build block which was looping, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I'm watching the console thing, and I'm just like, you know, and so I have a few issues with that. But yeah, I'm using the provider pattern, using the like a multiple stream providers, like at a higher level. Actually, in my app roots, I'm using the stream provider. But like I haven't used. What are some of the other ones out there? There's like, it's Riverpod. Is that one of them? I keep seeing Riverpod all the time. And then you've got the Redux and all this stuff, but I haven't used any of those. Let's see. Patrick said Linux is so much easier now than it used to be. Also, outside Azure, most cloud services are running on Linux, and even with Azure, you can run on Linux. Yeah, most of my server stuff runs on Linux, so like I totally get that. Don't worry, we're coming back to Rentathon. Franco Guajardo. Hey, Franco, how's it going? Hey, Franco from Chile here. Chile, God, that's awesome. What time is it over there? What do you think about programming iPhone apps with Xcode in iPads? Can you do that? I mean, you're talking about like. I mean, are you talking about creating iPad apps in Xcode, or are you talking about like actually having Xcode on an iPad? Because I haven't seen that. I didn't even know that was possible, and it sounds like it would be. Like that's one of the weird things where we talk about even with mobile applications, like it's like you can't like there's no real good development tools on mobile to create mobile applications. You still have to do the computer stuff. But is that possible, Franco? I haven't seen that. So let's have a look at Rentathon. I looked at this earlier today, so it's probably my history. Rentathon app. So this is for Rentathon or Neurorhythmic, I think. So let's have a look. So the revolutionary Rentathon joined the 1.0 beta test. The team, the privacy. And the next month we'll have a platform where consumers can borrow anything within minutes. I thought we'd create social media platforms. At Renathon, we want to create a social platform that allows millions of users to borrow items we're choosing within seconds. Okay. Cool. Wow, you've got like pictures here and everything. Cool. Let's see. And it's on Google Play. It's not on iOS yet. P2P person-to-person e-commerce app. So, and it's on a login process. Okay, I like the way you use your screenshots here as being, you've got the whole thing with the text there and everything. So I use okay, I want to run I looked at the video already actually, and the walkthrough. So yeah, I think it looks really okay. So camera. So yeah, I think it's really cool that you I'm totally fine with like the first review being yourself, but like just because it's the same one as that name. No wait, not that one here. Was it? That name is the same as that name, but like as you get more reviews, that's not gonna be that big a deal. So, and this is still in beta? What do the rest of you guys think? I think to me it just okay. I was looking at this earlier today. The one thing, like you asked what I think, and I think the concept sounds really cool. It's cool, like when I'm looking at this stuff where you've got the congressional award and everything like that. It sounds like there's a lot of work gone into it, which is awesome. But one of the things I'm wondering about is like just like the layout here. I mean, this is one thing I was looking at before. It sort of looks like everything's just sort of just stacked on top of each other. Like this looks cool, and maybe it's just me. Maybe this is the new style where you just everything looks like it's just been put on there. But like I would think it would stretch across. I don't know what the rest of you guys think about that. But no, it looks cool. Ravi says, long time Linux user here. Oh, so you're okay. Yeah, cool. So totally offended, very angry with green body like Hulk. Ravi smash. UK Baz, hey, how's it going? Long time no see. 6 months, 6-ish months since I last tuned in. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing really well. So like I'm sweating. Got my got the moob sweat going. But good to see you, UK Baz. New office. Last time I saw you, you were in your living room. I'm still in my living room. Let's go to different camera. Living room. Yeah, so I'm still in the living room. But I just rearranged the furniture here. Let's see. Ravi says the fact is all the tools we now use are nowadays are the same no matter what OS you use. So it doesn't really make a difference to me anymore. I have Windows, Mac, and Linux all. Yeah, I think to me I liked yeah, I liked Windows. I think I left Windows just after Windows 8. Which I thought that was like Windows 8. I hated Windows 8. I thought it was just so stupid. They said, "You know what? This should look more like the mobile. Like we need to consolidate designs," which is something that I've been working, like so many companies I worked at. They bring in a consultant. The consultant says, it's kind of strange that this website looks different than this website. You're like, well, it's 2 different departments. It's 2 different functions. It's 2 different whatever. Yeah, but we need to consolidate. We need a brand identity. And then next thing you know, you spend ages trying to make one thing. You try to make a desktop app look like a web app, which looks like a mobile app. And like it's the brand identity. So basically, usability is like the last consideration for all of it. It's all about, we just need to bring these together because it looks more professional. Right, Emerson said, consistency is a hobgoblin of little minds, and it's also the hobgoblin of project managers. We need to have consistency in this design. Like you'll do something, like you'll use Fitts law, where you say like, oh, I think it's Fitts law, like where you have like you'll have a button, the button you want them to do, like which is save. You make that big and prominent because you help the user out by guiding them to the right location, and then you might have settings or cancel like as smaller buttons, and the project manager comes in and goes, I see, okay, one thing here, why don't we make these all the same color and the same size? Because consistency is important. And that's what Windows 8 was, consistency. Sorry, like I have a little bit of a thing. So, have you looked at anything on Flutter Flame? I've only done like, looked at the game loop and then got that working. So look at the libraries and even stuff like I have my existing sprite library, my existing sprites, which should work with those sprite libraries there, and playing sounds. But no, I haven't gotten anything more than that. So like I haven't seen anything that's actually out there. I probably should do it because I know they use tiled, like you could use the tiled editor, which would be kind of cool. Which you could use with Corona as well and lots of other stuff. But no, I haven't looked to see what else is. Have I? I might have done. I must have done, because I was pretty much sold on the whole Flutter Flame thing. I think once I found out the Flutter is like 60 frames per second, then you think, well, that could, a game would be like a 2D game would be able to handle that. But let's see. But UK Baz says game dev PHP lol. Oh, I'm not sure. Patrick says I'm not impressed with Flutter Flame. Okay, you've tried it too. It's just rendering on the canvas element. Might be okay for some basic games that you could do something like with Game Maker or Solar 2D. I think that's it. But to me, I'm trying to replace the Solar 2D things. Like to me, it's just having the game loop and be able to rewrite redo the canvas each time. And maybe you're right. I mean, it's to me like my whole thing about the game frameworks is like the first game tutorial I did was a JavaScript one, which was basically just writing to a canvas on a loop. So you're basically the timeout, and you just write, you create all your different objects and they're moving. So that's kind of the way I think about things. And that was with Solar 2D or Corona SDK. There was I had developers working for me who didn't have a concept of a game loop. They were just like, okay, this transition to here, transition to there. And it got from being object-oriented programming, which it should have been, to like, hey, we're just going to try to like move all this stuff at random, like weird events, like a timer event. Like, okay, I'm going to, when this gets to the top, then trigger the next event, everything like that. And it got really clumsy the way that it worked, as opposed to having the game loop and you have those different entities which would all have their own logic inside them that would be saying like, on each tick I move whatever 3 pixels that way, 3 pixels that way, 3 pixels that way. But maybe I'm like I haven't got very far with Flutter Flame, except trying to think really just mapping out this, like there's so much that Solar 2D would do, but then also trying to map out what the equivalent of that in Flame would be. And whether or not that would cater to that. So maybe I'm going on the wrong. It's nice to hear you guys about that stuff. So, do I need an iPhone to test in-app purchase in Apple stores? It definitely helps. There's I think recently, I know. Okay, with Revenue Cat, I know they've got a way that you could upload stuff to there, but. I think you probably should, because I don't think like when I run it in the emulator, I've never get it to work. But there's like a way to like include that in there. Like you have to get like some special code or something. I can't remember what it is, but I think it might be possible. But it's not easy. It's a lot easier if you have a device. Like you should have an iPhone to test before you release anything, because you're just. And I know that's expensive, but it's like there's going to be things that happen on iPhone that don't happen on the simulator. Like it's not just in-app purchases. It could be stuff like, memory issues is a big one. Memory issues is a huge one. Where I've done that, where I've released. Well, I tried to release an application where like years ago, where like only like was really testing in the simulator, and it was like loading a lot of graphic assets. We had like all these sprites that were like. It was like an interactive storybook, and some of the images were just too big for the iPhone to be able to handle, and the simulator handled it fine on my big, desktop. Imposter syndrome, yeah, we got it. Cool. That's right. I also have importer syndrome. Love my imports. Hate require. Like Eric does know everything. Shh. Let's see. Coimbras app says, hey, Eric, do we have Corona syndrome? Is a simple framework compared to React, Angular, etc. to make a mobile app. We have Corona syndrome. I want to become a freelance app developer on iOS and Android. Can you give a best roadmap? Also, is it best to specialize in only one? It depends on who you work for. Like you get like if you're gonna be a freelance, well, so like as a contractor, like it depends on who your client's gonna be. If your client's gonna be another software company, then yeah, they might be happy with you just being an Android person. And you could be, if you're gonna do native, then I would say specialize in one. If your client is going to be an end user, like the actual, like a non-technical person, then they'll want somebody who knows everything. But they're also going to be somebody it doesn't have a very large budget. So I think that the thing is to get really good at doing it and start building your portfolio, because it's really, the person, there's no board you go in front of. You have to be able to convince the people that are hiring you that you can deliver, and you also have to be able to deliver. And like if you're able to do that, so you might take on, like I've had some like projects which I've taken on where like I had one where it was we had a prospect come through, and it was partnering with like loads of other app development companies, and like a lot, and it was always like there was like, oh yeah we could do it, and then you found out like you guys my questions got a lot more like trying to make sure they actually know how to do it. And I remember one I can say what the project was, but it had to do with the Apple Watch. And I said, asked the developers, like, okay, you do Apple Watch. Is this something you could do? And it was like, oh yeah, we could do it. And I was like, just okay, I'll add like just 3 more questions. And it was like, they didn't know what they were doing. I had to pass on that project. So like, even if you go freelance, there are going to be some projects that you're going to have to pass on, right? So you're going to specialize in a certain area, right? Like if you're like a database developer, or you're a developer who works with back-end APIs and stuff like that, and somebody comes to you and said they want to have a game done, and you'll be like, oh, actually, that's not my thing. Like, I'm not a game developer. Like, you're just going to specialize on whatever you do. You're not going to be like the person who knows everything regardless. Baraka says, 2021 has taught me anything is that being an indie developer is the most free, liberating, and best suited in the new way of working these days. We are all blessed. I know that it did seem that way. Doesn't kind of feel like everybody, like kind of feels like the entire world has kind of learned our little secret about how cool it is to work from home. But let's see. Erdem says, hey, Eric, great weather today. Did you have time to check out the Ali Abdal's channel and his comments on Gary Vee? What do you think? Building audience and creating product around it. Yeah, I looked at his channel, Ali Abdal's channel, a little bit. I haven't seen what he says about Gary Vee. And it's kind of one of those, I know we talk a lot about this kind of stuff. I think one of the things, like you guys may notice, I don't do YouTube videos as much as I used to, and that's not necessarily on purpose. A lot of it is like every time I think of something to do, I think I've already done a video on that. And then there's also the kind of there's a tendency to get swept up into I'll see what people are searching for, and then I'll make a video on that. And then you start like trying to basically, you go from like, I'm just going to do stuff I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about like things that interested me, and if people are going to be interested in it, then they'll do it. And if you start turning it into how am I going to really make money from YouTube, then you start thinking about what does the algorithm want, and then it becomes you see the same things again. The videos about productivity, the videos, and then there's one about morning routine, and then about stoicism for some reason, and then about different tools that you use, and then it kind of becomes this thing. And it's like some of the channels that I watch, which they've been very successful, after a while I start realizing, dude, they're working for the algorithm. Like they started off doing something that they liked, and then pretty soon they're working for the machine, right? Machine learning is supposed to be out there to serve us and not to become our boss. And that kind of feels like what YouTube has become. It's become this like thing, like and for a while I was kind of thinking, well, okay, like I'd go to like YouTube offices, and I'd have a consultant, and we're talking about like, what are people actually searching for? What are they doing? What are they looking for? But then it's like, well, actually, I'd rather just talk about what I want to talk about. So I know it's And sometimes I'll watch something about how to create a successful YouTube channel. It's like we've been about 35,000 subscribers for a while. It's mainly because I haven't been doing a whole lot. But if I have something I do want to talk about, like I love talking about imposter syndrome because we all face it. We all do this kind of stuff. But like, I'm just not interested in learning the newest whatever. If something works for me, I'll talk about that. And it's it kind of feels like it's kind of this like thing. I think when I started feeling like I was working for the algorithm rather than the algorithm working for me, then it's like, but it's not, but it's because of YouTube and be able to put out stuff that I want to talk about that I've met all you guys, and that's really awesome. Let's see, Angelina's here. Hey, Angelina, how's it going? Eric, you're a cross between Ethan Hawke and Liam Neeson, so you do have some charm. Well, thank you very much. Liam Neeson, really? I've never heard that one before. Back in my younger days, it was Alec Baldwin, but yes, that was. But thank you. And then in my 30s, it was Fox Mulder. Like people used to say, "You look like Fox Mulder." I think it's my haircut or whatever. So thank you very much, Ethan Hawke. Is it? Oh yeah, thank you very much. Owen Sam, hey Owen, says, the worst part about imposter syndrome, it easily can cycle into seriously negative consequences. That's true. Yeah, that is there's been people I've hired that have like, just because they were so confident, it was like, God, got me. Doozy's not DJ Snoopy, that the poet says, hey Eric, how you doing? Just dropped in. I'm doing all right. I'm doing really good. We just hanging. We're hanging out. Let's see. Matthew says, how can I begin doing client work on Upwork? Do you have a profile? You have to have a profile, and then when people post jobs, you have to be watching those and to be able to apply for those jobs. Like that's the way to do it, right? It's I can't think of any other way other than that. I mean, and every time you have like a client, you need to get some testimonials because you are competing with the entire rest of the world on that platform. Rachel says, with the UK lifting COVID restrictions, are you planning to meet clients face to face? I do go to client office sometimes, but I think no. I like working here. I like working from home, and there was part of me that when I moved out of the office and just into the flat, the apartment, that I just thought I don't look so professional anymore, and then it was kind of like. Actually, I'm not even concerned with that anymore. I'm like, just, we'll do I'll do what I can. So I do go to an office sometimes. But like, I think for like prospects and stuff, I used to I would go travel and meet somebody at a coffee shop and everything like that. And now it's like, like that's something that if that's one of the benefits. I mean, one of the benefits of COVID. I mean, the downsides are obviously there's also death and destruction and the economy crashing. All that side, like it's definitely more on the bad side that the whole COVID thing. But one of the good things is that people learn how to use Zoom and they learn how to use Teams. They learn how to use all these other tools and to say that you want to be a remote worker. Like, why don't we just have a meeting online? It doesn't become I think it's better if we just hash this out face to face kind of stuff. So. But no, that was one of the things I had meetings with clients that were like, it felt like I was being called into the principal's office because we're like, we need to get through this issue. We need to find a solution to this. And, can you come in? And it's like, next thing you know, I'm driving 2 hours, putting the suit on, driving 2 hours. Basically the day's gone. So I can sit in an office and just have somebody like, I don't know, something like we could have done this on the phone. And part of me thought that was kind of like sometimes it could be like a power play, I think, and that may be just reading into it. But I mean, and there's other times where like it does really help when you get, especially when you're working with other developers, just to get in the same room and just like, sometimes you just need that big piece of paper and go through stuff. But the now that I'm like Porky Pig today. That's all, folks. But yeah, that's one of those things. So, Chill and Code, YT, is it YouTube? Chill and Code. Hey, how's it going? Hi, Eric. I started recently, uploaded my first app 3 days ago, and today it shows up as published in Play Store. Hey, all right. but I can't find it through the link. You can't find it through the link, or you can't find it through the search. If it's in the, if it shows up as published, okay, here's the thing. It might show up as published because it will show up as published, but it will say in review if you go to, like, on certain pages, it'll say published. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. Like, it'll say, certain pages will say published because it's in a published process, but it's actually, like, if you look, like, I think if you go to the home page, it'll say in review, like, really small. So it might still be in review. But yeah, if you get that link, if you click on the link, you should be able to find it, unless it's set up, it's not set up in your country, which would be kind of weird. So okay, so if I was you, Chill and Code it, what I would do is, first I would say check to make sure that it isn't actually in review. So if you go into the dashboard, and you'll see that, like, it's some really small text where it says, you know, still in review, or it could have been like approved and it's just not, like, it hasn't been, it hasn't, you know, like, sometimes it could take a few hours. But if you click on the link and you still can't see it, what I would do is go into countries and also make sure that your country is selected there. But Basit Ali says, hey, Eric. Hey, how's it going? Says, following you almost a year. I am from Pakistan. Cool. Hey, thanks, Scott. Glad you could make it. Could you let me know about some app ideal for generating revenue? Thanks. App idea for generating revenue. Okay, let's see. Okay. I need silence. Let's see. Deliveroo for mayonnaise packets. This could be huge, right? Because sometimes Deliveroo does a good job, right? They deliver everything, but you don't have the, you know, you don't have all the food condiments with you. So, like, it doesn't. Okay, I say for mayonnaise packets. I'm also including ketchup. I'm including mustard. I'm including, like, other things. Even, okay, I would even go so far as to say wooden chopsticks, right? But that's it. And plastic spoons and forks. Okay, but no napkins, because Deliveroo should have brought the napkins. So, okay, so that would be like a follow-on service. So basically, like, it sells itself because, sorry, I if I knew the answer to that, I would say that. But, like, this is like, you know, sorry if I'm doing trouble with you. This is like one of those, I get this question a lot. And if I knew the answer to it, dude, I would be like, kind of like a, you know, probably be doing it myself. But let's see. Patrick says, RiverPod claims to be provider 2.0. I should probably check it out. I think the thing that puts me off it is it's called RiverPod, and it sounds like a mall. It sounds like I'm going down to the RiverPod Mall, and I'm gonna, like, you know, get some vans. Let's see. Kartik, thanks, Eric. No problem. The flavor Linux. Okay, it's Mr. Davis says AppSheet allows you to deploy the App Store and Play Store, but you can't get the back end code though. Apart from it being too googly, I don't think it's that bad. If you can distribute it that way, then that sounds like it's fine, because, you know, you still have that presence on the App Store. Like, if you were going to sell that onto, like, other clients, you could tell them that, okay, it's built on this back end. And even if you don't own that infrastructure, like, you could still sell the good points about having that infrastructure, which would be like, they take care of security, they take care of backups. It's going to be up, like, all the time because they're this huge company, rather than it's hosted on your own server someplace. And if it goes down, you know, you don't find out until somebody tells you about it, unless you have alarms turned on, which you should. And so you can say all this big stuff about it if it's something you're going to actually market to, like, clients and stuff like that. So if that was the case, Mr. David, then that would probably be okay. Franco says, last WW 2121, Apple announced the ability to use Xcode in iPad Pro to create iPhone and iPad apps. Oh, did they? Oh, okay. I know they have the thing where they got the build. Is it compile in the cloud? Am I thinking? I know that you got that new tab in an App Store Connect. Franco, let me check that out. I need to get, because to me, like, that is like just the fact that you, like, having to have all this Apple stuff in order to release the App Store is like a huge pain. Like, so many developers I talk to, they're Android developers, not because they're not interested in doing iPhone, because they can't afford the Apple, the Mac tools, right? And you know, so Yeah. Armando says, "Is that mouse comfortable for you? It looks like carpal tunnel producer." What? Okay, so the magic mouse when I first got one, yeah, I wasn't a big fan, but now I've kind of gotten used to it. The swipe, swipe, swipe. Carpal tunnel, look, man, I do it. Okay, I do got some pain in my shoulder, but I think it's workout related. But yeah, maybe it is. Huh. Yeah, now usually I'm facing this way, and I wish I could tell you I use all shortcut keys and I never use a mouse, but dude, I use the mouse all the time. I see. Wander Souza, hey Wander, says, "Hi Eric, thanks for one more live. You got one more live out of me. I'm not sure how many lives I got in me, but it's my birthday this week. I'm gonna be turning a year. Let's talk about one more live. I'll be turning 28 later this week. I'll be turning 49. Yes, the final year before 50. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the cost-benefit performance when it comes to hosting DigitalOcean / Google Cloud / Amazon? So I have all of those. I have all of those. Like I have like a AWS EC2 server, like which is out there. And I'll also use a lot of my MySQL is on RDS on AWS, and a lot of the cloud, all of the files are hosted on S3. So like I pay about £150 a month to Amazon, and I don't have that much on it. I've got a couple servers on DigitalOcean. I think I pay about £80 a month to DigitalOcean each month. And Google Cloud is Firebase and Google Cloud Platform. I don't have any virtual machines on Google Cloud Platform, but I do have the Firestore and everything like that. To me, I think of the three of them, I think I like the idea that DigitalOcean is basically and I also know that DigitalOcean, they have their own almost like Elastic type, Heroku type stuff, like whatever. Azure has apps, app services. Heroku has Heroku. Amazon is a Beanstalk, and Google Cloud has something. So like that thing where you just push, you don't have to think about the actual server itself. Right, but with the DigitalOcean, the server's a lot cheaper, and you're kind of portable because you're relying on Linux servers hosted, whereas with AWS, a lot of the stuff on AWS, I still have a Linux server running, but it seems to be a lot more expensive. And I think DigitalOcean, the thing I like about DigitalOcean is like they just tell you how much the server is going to cost. It's not all this, okay, here's how much it's going to cost per hour. Do the math yourself. I hate that, right? You go, and here's a calculator so you can figure it out. It's like, dude, like, who needs this kind of granularity? Like, I suppose somebody does, but like, who's running a server for like 2 hours and then switching it off? So, that reminds me, I set up a Azure server the other day just testing. I forgot to turn it off, just for testing. But yeah, so I think, to me, in terms of the cost, I think DigitalOcean is a lot cheaper. But there's also one of the downsides of having something where you have your own virtual machine running somewhere is that if it crashes, then like you might not even know anything about it. You have to set all that stuff up yourself. Most of the time I go based on price. Okay, if I go for my favorite is using Firebase, just using the serverless architecture. Just like I said, I have everything, Firestore, Firebase, everything like that. If I need, and I've even gone so far as to have triggers on a Firestore database, which would update a SQL server just so that, MySQL server, so that I could have that reporting database, just because I'd rather use that infrastructure. So I have like another server running, which is an RDS server running MySQL. So, but DigitalOcean, you just get like a nice cheap server and have it up and running. So I guess they're all kind of the same when you get to the virtual machine thing, and then it comes down to cost. So I don't know what the rest of you guys think. I think to me, if I'm just talking about like a plain old Linux server, then any of them work well. Amazon I find to be a bit more expensive. Google Cloud Platform is a bit like Amazon, where you go into it and you're like, dude, do I need to take a course to learn how to use this stupid tool because they just put things all over the place? Oh, but AWS is the worst because they're like, oh, you just need to permission this. All you have to do is go over here, do this, go over here, do this, do some sort of weird JSON stuff where you paste this over here. Like, it's just really like, it's like, dude, like, do I have to like get a special guy to do all this stuff? Whereas DigitalOcean is just like, press this button, server starts up, you know. But you know, you get your SSH keys and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Patrick says self-review, I think, violates Apple App Store terms of service. I think. Okay. Oh, so we're talking about the Rent-A-thon one. Okay. I didn't even know that. I'll have to read those again. Let's see. Do you think one of them fits better for small projects? Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah, if you talk, it depends on what you're doing. Like if you're talking about like you just want like a small project, like a Node.js thing running, then I would go something like Heroku or one of the bigger ones, because you just have that, like you're not worrying about an entire server. If you need an entire server, I would go with DigitalOcean, just because you get like a much cheaper server just for like a smaller projects and stuff like that. Let's see. Did I miss something? Let's see, Angela. I did see that. Do you see that Microsoft released their own distro of Linux? Okay. Let's see. Matthew Creek says, what kind of apps do clients want on average? Most of the time, they want stuff for they're either going to want it for their employees, or they're going to want it for their customers, right? And there's two different things. For their employees, it's a lot easier. Talking about like maybe couple hundred users, they're using it internally, like they're going to distribute, like you still distribute it through the app stores, but they're using like for the most part distributed through the app stores. But like Apple, like I've had one where Apple was trying to say like, this is a good candidate for the Apple business program. Apple business, they changed the name recently, so and it was like, no, don't do that, we just want it on the app store. But if it's for their clients, then you're talking about you have to support a lot more devices and everything. Like if you have it like for their internal employees, it's a lot easier, because you could say, okay, this is going to be for like, these versions of device, whatever, if they're just, normal. So, and it depends. If it's internally, it's like to help their business processes, which you're not going to know very much about, because, they'll tell you what those are. And you got to think about the main ingredients that you have. You have like, okay, like what are the selling points? Okay, you got a barcode scanner, which is kind of like, or you got GPS, or you got the camera, all that kind of stuff. We could like put it into one thing. So like if I was working in a warehouse, I might say, okay, we'll have these little NFC tags, and then like you just tap it there, and it will automatically register this to a central database, and you scan a barcode, and then that will check this other system, and that will like read this there, and then you'll see all the details of that. And while you're doing that, I'm logged in as a user here, so I can see who's checked that information and where. So we have that kind of stuff, and we got the GPS, and then say I want to take a picture of it. So so let's say I'm in a warehouse, and this is just hypothetical. I'm in a warehouse, and every day I need to check the inventory. Then I would say, okay, so my people on the warehouse floor, they have these applications they could go through. They could scan all the boxes, and they could take a quick inventory. They might take a picture of the warehouse itself, or a picture of each box, so that you can see the quality of it or whatever. There's a management reporting system, so people up on the upper floors can view that data on a regular basis. Like that's the kind of stuff that's the bread and butter of a lot of what I do. Victor, click. Oh, this mouse is giving me carpal tunnel syndrome. Okay, Victor says, hey Victor, how's it going? Says, hey Eric, I asked you your view on Windows 11, which will be able to run Android's apps. Do you think it's an advantage to us as developers? Eventually it will. It's kind of one of these, like right now, eventually, yeah. I think when Windows 11 gets more adopted, you still have that thing where like some of my apps can be used on the on the Mac M1 devices. And when I heard that, I thought, who cares? It's like, there's like not enough people on them. Like at the moment, there's not enough. So like, if you were to do that, so and even that kind of stuff, I would wonder like is that going to be like a benefit to somebody? I suppose it would be a benefit to developers because you could say like not only like that would be a selling point saying not only will this work on Android devices, but users with Windows 11. So going forward, you'll have this whole new audience coming in. So like if you were selling that to a client, you could use it. But yeah, I think it will be a benefit, but I don't think it'd be as huge a benefit as we think. Because I remember when Chromebooks were going to allow Android apps, but it was it was a bit complicated. So like an example, like some of the stuff I work on might be something with Bluetooth functionality in it, and then all of a sudden I got to think, is the laptop going to support Bluetooth, and are the libraries going to be different? And like some of the lower level stuff that I deal with, it's like I'm wondering how that would work. If it was just like a like a game or something, it might be not so bad. Back to OS conversation. Windows 11 OS is here. I know, but I haven't I'm outside. I'm outside the game. I've been like Angelina, I'm outside the whole Windows game. I'm just had to retire my number. I was the good old days of Windows, but no, it's I've like I'm with these Mac people now. I'm with those people you don't want to hang out with at parties. I'm hanging out with them now. UK Baz says, is PhoneGap still being in the industry? I don't know, because there's Cordova. Like everything went Cordova, but I think PhoneGap Build was still around. I don't know if it still is. Patrick says, I only used to code games with a string JS or Python with graphic libraries, but now a convert to game engines with built-in editors. It really does make much easier once you learn the tool. Okay. I used to only code with straight JS and Python. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that was. So, let's see. Chris Ball is here. Chilling code. Yeah, it might be published, but it has to be replicated across all the servers. Well, that makes sense. Let's see. Kara says, "What is your experience of programming drunk?" I've never done it. I may have programmed hungover, but I've never programmed drunk. I don't think I may have tried. Have I ever tried? Like it's not been a thing. I'm like I don't know if I could. I don't think I've ever tried. Have any of you? I've done, like I said, I've done hungover, and that's just not good. Thanks very much. No problem, Bassett. Let's see. Bar Rocket says, how many indie developers put a big focus on building their own portfolio of quality apps, generating revenue, and wanting to focus on that alone? I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, because it seems like the kind of thing you would do. It's like, I suppose when you need money, and maybe building your own portfolio doesn't seem like it's that important. But if you're on the bench and you're like looking, it seems like the kind of thing you should be doing. Chris, again, says DigitalOcean's price is so simple and predictable. Azure's an absolute miss. I agree with that. Like, there's nothing like worse than having that. Call is done, dude. Who were you talking to? Yeah, Thea, who you been talking to this entire time? I want answers. Have you been talking to another YouTuber? Have you been talking to another channel? Let's see. Patrick says, get a VPS or two. Learn Kubernetes with Docker. Call it a day. A really, really long day. Dude, I've tried so hard. Like, I keep looking at Docker and everything. And I think, okay, all right, I'm gonna learn this. It's like, well, okay, all right, I'm gonna learn Docker. Right? Everyone talks about how cool Kubernetes and Docker are. And I'm like, okay, all right, okay. This afternoon, I'm gonna learn Docker. So I've not been able to get that far with it. Maybe that's just me. You guys are all like, Eric's not a real developer, which maybe I'm not. Or use Azure functions with AWS Lambdas before you decide to go with the server. Yeah, that's the one I was like, yeah, AWS Lambdas. What did I say? Beanstalk? Yeah. Is Beanstalk the same? Is Beanstalk something different? Let's see, Bartfuck, very few have been the last couple of years, and it's been all right. Not sure how long it's been sustained given the situation with the app markets. Yeah. The database hosting is expensive. Azure database, I just can't justify the price when I don't make enough money from apps. Yeah, Azure is expensive though. Angry Dog says, Eric, off topic, how is a standing desk working for you? You know, I only do the standing desk when I'm in meetings in the live stream. Like during the week, I've tried to just code and like, you know, it's too like, you think you'd be focused and everything like that, but it's just too easy just to go like, hey, what's going on? What's going on over here? So it's not my ideal like coding thing is like, you know, that's where you like you go like down really low, laid back, and just, you know, you feel like you're like watching a movie or something. Let's see. Mr. Noob says, how many apps does any developer apps usually have in their portfolio? I'd see when I was started out, I had, like I said, I had like 100. I had like over 100. Like, but you're talking about like a free version, paid version, Android version, iOS version. So like quickly it got up to like 100. And a lot of them were reskins of each other and everything like that. But then you got Apple really clamped down on that. So like it's a lot harder to do that these days. You got the and Google has a repetitive content rule, which I don't think is nearly as strict as I can't remember what is the Apple one where we talk about app spamming and everything like that. So I don't think you could do as many as you could. Let's see. An old box under your desk also works. AWS. AWS. Who you cannot. Oh yeah. Just put a box under your desk and put it. Oh, you gotta have the post-it on it that says "Do not switch off." I remember working in an office where we had one of those. How many domains do you own? Any for sale? How many domains do I own? Oh God, what is this? 1995. I own overpass.co.uk, which is like, you know, I wish I got .com back in the day, but I didn't. I got overpass.co, which I don't think I'm even using. I got overpassapps.com, which I'm not using. I've got ericwroolie.com, which I'm not using. I've got wroolie.co.uk, which has like a personal blog, which I haven't updated in years. I've got overpassdesigns.com, which I was using, but I'm not using anymore. I've got a few stuff for clients, which I keep forgetting I have until they renew each year. So I guess I got about, I think that's it. I think I got 8, but I'm only using 2 of them. Hinterfish says, what's your experience with YouTube advertising? I've used it only in terms of with Google app campaigns. I thought about doing the advertising where you like advertising Overpass as an app company, you know, be like that kind of. But I just thought I just can't do it. Like you see so many people that like, you know, the pre-video ads that come out going, hey, have you ever thought about having an app? Well, hey, I can help you, all this stuff. And I'm thinking, and now people say like, idiot, and then, you know, the bad thing. So I haven't done very much with that. Did you ever sell an app that you have created for yourself? How did you do it? Did I ever sell? No, I never have. I had somebody making like this week out say, you know, whether or not I was willing to sell one of my apps. And I was like, yeah, I'd be considering it. I would consider it. And they said, let's have a discussion and give us all this data. I'm like, forget it. I don't care anymore. So let's see. Carol Levine says microdosing alcohol might work out fine. Well, there we go. There's our home. That's everybody's homework assignment. Everybody go out and find out. Everybody get drunk and code and come back, and we'll talk about how bad our experiences were when we come back next week. Hey guys, I gotta get going. It's been an hour and a half, and I'm gonna go to a class at 7 o'clock. So I'm gonna have to dash. But thanks everybody for joining the live stream. This has been a lot of fun this week. Thanks everybody who's given it a thumbs up. Thanks everyone with all the cool questions. Thanks everybody. The Moob sweat is still there. So I'm gonna open up these windows. I hope you guys have a great week ahead, and I'll talk to you guys again next week. See you later.